Here at the Fake Britain House, we'll reveal the fakes that are flooding the market, conning people like you and me, and making money for the criminals. We'll investigate the fraudsters who are selling us something that isn't real and could be dangerous. And we'll help you avoid falling for a fake. Today on Fake Britain, the fake clothing banks that are fleecing kind-hearted Brits.
A fake bank is one that is depriving the poor and the needy throughout the globe.
The fake identity cards that could lead to a construction site catastrophe.
Fake cards by changing hands between £300 and £500.
And the fake fancy dress costumes, endangering lives and harming British business.
It's a very cheap synthetic, it probably burns like the clappers.
Giving away old clothes to charity can make a real difference. £100 million each year goes to worthy causes because the clothes we're happy to give away are valuable. But the fakers know that too, and they're desperate to get their hands on the stuff we want to go to a charity. So, do you know where your gift of clothes could end up? We've all seen clothing banks like this. You'll find them on the high street or at an out-of-town shopping centre. In total, there are over 14,000 across the UK, and more than half of the estimated 540,000 tonnes of clothing we recycle annually are collected through these banks. The clothing is then sold overseas. Ghana and Pakistan are two of the most popular destinations, and the profits are used to fund charitable projects, both here and abroad. Ravi Zucchi works at Planet Aid UK, a large not-for-profit organisation which owns nearly 1,500 clothing banks across the UK.
The used textile business is massive. There are many, many thousands of tonnes of used clothes, used shoes collected every month from thousands of collection banks.
And it's surprising how valuable our unwanted clothing is.
We collect 120 tonnes of textiles each month, and the value of that is approximately £600 to £700 per tonne.
A large clothing bank on a busy site will typically be filled within a week, and the clothes donated in that time can be sold for £200. Over the course of a year, that's £10,000. Planet Aid manage the clothing bank sites for a number of local councils, including 7 locations here in Harlow, Essex. However, the property team at Harlow Council have received a report from a local shopkeeper about some mysterious clothing banks which have suddenly appeared overnight. Joe McGill from Harlow Council's property team believes these clothing banks are fake.
As you can see, this is one of the fake clothing banks that we've identified in Harlow. There are 6 in total at present, and we're looking to have them removed from the area.
Joe and his team have been unable to find a registered charity using this exact slogan and logo design.
Unlike other charities, where the council understands where all the clothing is going and the public know which charity they're contributing to, no one knows where this clothing will end up.
The fakers have used the Kids Go Green logo, not to be confused with any organisation using a similar name, on all 6 of the bins placed around Harlow. The council has taken action and issued notices, ordering the banks to be removed within 3 weeks under the threat of seizure. But Joe's had a report that his notice has been removed from at least one of the banks.
The bin's located behind the sidewall in an alleyway and just sat around the corner away from the CCTV camera.
Joe's suspicions have been confirmed. The fakers have swiped the notice.
There's another fake.
And his next stop brings him to a busy thoroughfare where the fake has been brazenly placed next to 2 genuine banks and is now causing a health hazard.
This one, as you can see, is uncontrolled. They don't clear it up, they don't keep it tidy. We do not have any idea who actually owns this particular bin either. And it's got the same logo as the one at Sherrod's Hatch and all the other ones that have been placed in Harlow.
As for the state of the site, Joe's going to have to get someone down here, creating further costs for a hard-pressed local council. Joe also picks up some useful information on when the banks are being emptied.
Have you seen anybody coming up to the banks or anything?
The vans turn up around 5:45, 10:50. When I'm out walking the dog in the morning, they'll come up, they'll empty the clothes bank, fill the vans up and go.
But this problem stretches far beyond Harlow.
Unfortunately, it's not the first time that we've heard of fake clothing banks. We've had reports of fake clothing banks over the years in many, many locations, way up in Scotland and then down in Yorkshire. We've had many reports in Warwickshire and even in our hometown of Corby.
Back in Harlow, another fake clothing bank has been identified. This time it's been placed on land owned by Tesco. However, the site is managed by one of the biggest charities in Britain, Oxfam. The charity have issued a notice of intent to seize the bank. But members of the public are still mistaking the fake bank for the real thing.
Well, I just think it's very good because I would have put the stuff in there. I wouldn't have noticed any difference.
Oxfam's Andrew Horton has come down to put a stop to this. The fake bank has been placed next to Oxfam's genuine banks. So, what are the signs the clothing bank you use is the real deal?
Just take a second to look at the bank that is in front of you. It's got to recognise charity. If you've got doubts if it's a charity, look on the Charity Commission website when you get home. Make sure it's registered with them. Has it got the right sort of labels on to warn you about what happens if you get into the bank or trap your finger? And has it got a number saying what the registered charity is? And if you've got any questions, give us a ring. Instead of the public giving goods to charity, which is what they want to do with their waste material, they're actually giving it into the pockets of whoever is operating this bin. So we're going to do something about it today.
But this fake won't be fooling anyone else. Oxfam have arranged for the bank to be seized.
It's going to be taken away to our site, where it'll be held for another 14 days. So if the operator wants to come and collect their own bank, they're welcome to do so, but we might ask them a few difficult questions. We'll then open the bank. If they don't turn up, we'll sell the goods for Oxfam's charitable purpose, and then we'll destroy the bank so it doesn't appear on a Tesco site again.
Oxfam may have recovered the fake bank on their site, but the day before Harlow Council are due to seize the fake banks on their sites, 4 of the 6 banks disappear. Joe McGill is not happy.
Whoever's behind this deception of placing the fake clothing banks in Harlow has little to no regard for the public of Harlow, nor do they have any regard for the money they're taking away from the charities, and those charities who the council supports.
For Ravi at Planet Aid, the real victims here are the vulnerable people who depend on the money raised by clothes donations.
Every item of clothing, every kilo of clothing that goes into a fake bank and rather than into a legitimate clothes collecting bank is one that is depriving the poor and the needy throughout the globe.
Fancy dress is fun, and if you're a parent, no doubt at some stage you've picked up an off-the-peg outfit for your kids. They can be fantastic. Look, lots of little girls would love to be the princess at the party in this dress, but this dress isn't the one that dreams are made of. Quite the opposite, because it's a fake, and wearing it could put your child's life at risk.
We spend over £250,000 every year on fancy dress. There's an incredible range of costumes available. Pirates, nurses, historical characters, sailors, Disney princesses, even neon gorillas. Dressing up is a much-loved British pastime, enjoyed across the country by children and the young at heart. But the fakers know there are profits to be made from make-believe, and now fake fancy dress costumes are flooding into the country. Jodie Frisbee has 2 young daughters who love to dress up. Her youngest daughter, Katie May, had her heart set on an Elsa dress from the hit Disney cartoon Frozen.
Every little girl wants something for Christmas, and that was her main thing, and I just wanted to make her happy, so I searched wherever I could really to get one that was A, top quality, and B, not massively expensive.
Jodie went online and found a dress that she thought would be perfect.
So I was quite impressed with it, to be honest, for the price that I saw it for.
2 weeks later, the package arrived.
When it first arrived, I was here to get the post. I opened it up, I was squealing. I was so excited when I got it, because I knew Katie May would love it. It did look top quality when it was all wrapped up, you know, I was really dead pleased with the dress.
And Katie May was delighted with her gift.
Katie May was really, really excited to see the dress. She screamed, she wanted it on there and then. So we opened it up and put it on, and she was quite happy, dancing around the living room, doing her little Elsa poses, singing Let It Go. She was in her element.
But it wasn't long before Jodie realised that Katie May's new dress wasn't everything it claimed to be.
3 hours later, the dress started to fall apart at the seams. It started to come apart in 2 halves. It was the bottom half of the skirt, and then the top half was like the t-shirt and the cape. It frayed pretty badly. Took a lot to get it sewed back together the first time it fell apart. It's fell apart twice more since then. It's been sewn up a couple of times, but the last time it was literally in 2 halves.
Fake Britain sent the dress to Disney. They confirmed it was a fake. But the fakers aren't just targeting children's costumes. Adult fancy dress is also being faked, and it's costing some British fancy dress companies millions.
Morning, Taylor.
Ray Peckett is Managing Director at Smithies, one of the UK's largest manufacturers of fancy dress.
These costumes don't just suddenly appear. We employ 30-odd people who are just designing and getting the product to market. The counterfeiters and fakers just nip in, steal our product, make out that it's their product, and do the job for nothing. They're jeopardising the jobs of our designers. We are one of the only people in the world that actually designs our costumes from scratch, and these people's jobs are being jeopardised because their work is just being stolen.
Desperate to safeguard his workers and his company, Ray has asked the authorities to act, and they have.
Right, here's our latest seizure. One of the biggest to date, the pirate costume.
These costumes are just part of a haul of 3,000 fakes. Copying on this scale is damaging the company's profitability.
The turnover, we figure that they're costing us is about 10% of our business, so you're talking £6 million a year, year in, year out.
The fakers have attempted to reproduce every detail of the genuine product.
So we've got 2 pirate costumes here. On the right, we've got the genuine Smithy pirate, and on the left, we've got the counterfeit. They've scanned our packaging, they've reproduced it identically to ours. The quality of printing is a little bit different, but to the consumer, this one looks like a Smithy product. The reason we know it's not originally was that the insert card, the packaging, doesn't actually fit.
But it's not just the packaging that's being faked.
Not only have they copied the packaging, they've actually copied our sewing label and care instructions. So there we go. To all intents and purposes, this is a Smithy product.
Ray decided to take matters into his own hands. To find out more about the criminals behind the fakery of his product, one of his team travelled to China and posed as a businessman looking to buy counterfeit costumes.
We actually were invited inside, and here we are being shown a Disney dress. The entire showroom is filled with knockoffs. The whole thing is selling fakes. That's all they do. There's the guys who run the factory. There's all the samples that are offered to us. And basically, we could have anybody's product in any packaging we like. That's all they do is counterfeit. They mentioned they were having a bit of trouble with Smithies, that Smithies been putting some pressure on them. So, we are actually making some effect with these people.
But the fakers were less than impressed by Ray's undercover work.
They have an attitude that is appalling. I mean, they have actually threatened some of my staff. They've gone into gory details of what would happen to them and their parents if they continue pursuing them.
The fakers have also targeted the children's costume market. This fake product is being sold online using the marketing image of a real Smithy's costume.
The 2 products you've got here, one is the genuine Smithy product, which has been tested for heavy metals, nasty dyes and things which are quite bad for the consumer, especially for kids to have. Here, having assumed that they were getting this, what turns up is this.
As well as the damage to his business, Ray's concerned about the safety of the fake children's costumes.
Okay, we've got the 2 costumes laid out here. What the consumer would have been expecting is this one here, which is the Smithy item. Comes with a mock cap, long sleeves, the apron attached, and a nice collar with sleeves with frills on. What the knockoff fake item is actually like a long T-shirt, but it's got short sleeves and a roll neck collar. Well, it's another T-shirt, probably made of, it's a very cheap synthetic. It probably burns like the clappers.
Children's fancy dress clothes aren't subject to flammability testing, although some retailers are insisting on safety standards for what they stock. The change came after TV presenter Claudia Winkleman led a campaign Her daughter was badly burned in a Halloween costume. Responsible manufacturers like Smithies have always ensured that their clothing is fire resistant. The concern is that the fakers are using cheap materials and dyes to maximise their profits, and these fake costumes could continue to be a fire hazard. Fakebrit decided to put this theory to the test. We asked Fire Safety Officer Matthew Perrin to perform a test on a genuine Smithies costume to see how it would compare with a fake one. He begins with a genuine costume, but getting the material to actually catch light is easier said than done. On the fourth attempt, the tunic finally catches fire, but it quickly and safely self-extinguishes. This is how costumes made by responsible manufacturers should perform when they catch fire. Now it's time to test the fake Smithies costume. It catches fire immediately and burns violently for well over 2 minutes, possibly because the fakers have used cheaper materials and dyes. We wanted to know if this was a one-off, so we decided to test a fake Frozen dress seized by Nottingham Trading Standards. It's not long before the entire costume is engulfed by flames.
With this material, it's burning quite rapidly. Quite a large spread of fire across the material. We're also seeing these tar droplets coming off as well.
Matthew Perrin is concerned about the flammability of the material used in this fake dress.
This has been burning for about 3 or 4 minutes now, and as you can see, the material itself, rather than doing what it should do and actually putting itself out, almost self-extinguishing, the material itself, as you can see, is actually adding to the fire. It's almost fueling the fire. We'd expect some serious burns to anyone wearing these.
We showed footage of the test results to Jodie Frisbee, who unwittingly purchased a fake dress online. Jodie is shocked by the dress's flammability.
Yeah, the way the back bit goes up, that's the most shocking bit. It started off at the front and now the whole back's just gone. I don't think she'll be wearing that dress again. Yeah, I'm really shocked that my little daughter has been exposed to any sort of danger by wearing a fancy dress costume. You don't think that a fancy dress costume is going to cause your daughter any harm.
As well as the familiar passport or driving licence, we're all getting used to using lots of IDs, perhaps for work, the gym, events, or look, the rail card. But faking IDs is big criminal business. Even the enforcement agencies whose task it is to crack down on the problem are surprised at what they discover the forgers are up to.
Detective Carl Eade and his team at the National Crime Agency are at the forefront of cracking down on identity fraud, more specifically the faking of identity cards. For 3 years, Carl and his team were on the trail of a prolific network of identity card forgers.
The operation has been ongoing for some time. We've identified numerous cells producing and distributing these documents.
Their painstaking detective work culminated in raids where they uncovered fake ID factories, churning out passports, driving licenses and other bogus identity documents in their thousands.
It will normally be a room within someone's house, or it may have been a flat specifically purchased for that purpose. It normally consists of a room with computers, monitors. You will have various different types of printer, some quite standard, some quite specialist, like a card printer. The computers will be loaded with graphics software and photo imaging software. There'll be scanners, but from that room they can create thousands of IDs.
The NCA team recently identified this man, Mehdi Krasniki, as a seller of fake identity cards. They knew he was operating around Turnpike Lane in North London. But to stop Krasniki, they'd need to find the man who was forging the fake ID cards he was selling. That would lead them to the fake ID factory. The criminals were careful to disguise the handovers, making it hard to catch them in the act.
These cards were often concealed. They were not handed directly over. They may be left on a shelf in a shop.
But the NCA team were about to get their break. They followed Krasniki as he made his way across North London, eventually arriving at this fast food restaurant. Minutes later, the elusive forger of the fake IDs arrives and sits down next to him. Carl Eade's team were in position outside the building. All they needed to do now was patiently wait for the exchange of fake cards to happen between Krasniki and the ID card forger.
Krasniki then stands. He picks up an empty tray from the same table, and in that small moment of the tray being picked up and moved, over 70 fake ID cards are handed over envelope and are placed in Krasnicki's back pocket.
The moment both men leave, the NCA officers race to arrest them. Krasnicki was caught red-handed with the 70 fake ID cards. And when the team raided a property linked to his name, they found £12,000 in cash hidden behind the oven. At a flat belonging to the forger of the fake cards, Arsen Meci, the NCA discovered one of the fake ID factories they'd been searching for. Amongst the materials needed to create fake passports, driving licenses and other ID documents, the officers found a type of card they'd never seen before.
Initially, we were, I have to say, quite unaware of the requirement for the construction services cards. However, as we downloaded the databases, it was quite clear that this was a prominent area of their work.
The forgers had realised that ID cards are now mandatory on the vast majority of construction sites across the country. They've been selling fake ID cards to construction workers in their thousands.
This is one of the construction skills certification scheme cards that was seized. This is a fake card which states that this gentleman is a construction site operative and that he is accredited to work on construction sites.
Basic construction identity cards are sold for as little as £50, but other, more specialist fakes, like this one, can be sold for £500.
This, again, another plastic card that's been created. Again, it will have been layered on the computer. This one is for engineering services skills card, which states that the registered holder of this card holds the construction qualifications listed on the reverse. On there, it states he's specialist in ductwork erector and ductwork installer.
Meci and Krasnicki eventually pleaded guilty to all charges. They were sentenced to 6.5 years and 5.5 years in prison, respectively. Meci will be deported to his native Albania on the completion of his sentence. Many of the fake construction ID cards for which Meci and Krasnicki were responsible carried the logo CSCS, and that stands for Construction Skills Certification Scheme. It's the largest of the identity card schemes, and Graham Wren is the CEO.
For a supervisor or site manager, the card is a really valuable tool in confirming the individual's identity, in confirming the qualifications they hold.
Fake identity cards can allow workers to operate dangerous equipment without having had to pay for any training. Fake Britain asked CSCS to investigate the scale of the problem, so they ran a survey of construction site managers. The results showed fake cards were being used on 1 in 5 sites. But the authorities are fighting back. The Construction Industry Training Board has been tasked with tracking down the people using fake cards. Investigative Officer Ian Sidney is the first port of call when a fake card is discovered.
We have uncovered quite a black market for fake cards in the construction industry, especially for some of the plant cards we've found, which again we know are changing hands between £300 and £500.
Ian has just discovered that a construction worker using a fake identity card has caused an accident.
We've received a complaint from a health and safety advisor for a construction company following an incident on one of their construction sites involving a forward tipping dumper being involved in an accident. As a result of the accident, they have checked on the card held by the driver, and it would appear that the card he had produced to them when he arrived on site was a fake card. Luckily there was nobody injured, but there was some damage caused to property on the site.
Ian needs to track down the man who's been using the fake card before he can cause any more damage.
What we'll do this morning is we'll obviously attend his address, hopefully he'll be there, and we can then try and recover the fake card, but we have no powers of arrest, so we use the local police to use their powers of arrest, and if we then need to search the premises for evidence, they will use their powers to search his address and also to detain him.
The team arrives at the address, but the suspect isn't there.
Is there anybody by that name who lives here?
No. No.
Clearly, it's quite common that subjects will give false addresses, false dates of birth, and even false names, especially if they're here as migrant workers with no rights to work. So it's quite a common thing that we do come across quite regularly.
So the team calls the number on the fake card.
I just need for you to confirm your address, because the address we've got on file is and you're not living at you was there. The lady says that You don't live there, but you're now telling me that she's called you and told you that we've been with the police.
The suspect eventually provides the team with a second address.
You're at that address now? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your help. I'll see you shortly.
Ian and the police arrive at the second address, and finally the suspect comes out to meet them.
We're from the Construction Industry Training Board. We're fraud investigators, okay? Yeah. And we're looking to speak to you about a previous card that was issued to you, a CPCS card, okay? This one is a card that was issued to you, which you used on a building site.
I keep it.
Okay? This card, we believe, is a fraudulent card.
The suspect is arrested and handcuffed. His wallet is searched, and they find the fake card.
This is the fake card, as you can see, it's got his picture on it. This is for a forward tipping dumper and a ride-on roller. But it's a good result, we've got the fake card.
The suspect's taken to the local police station for interview. An hour later, Ian gets an update from the custody sergeant.
Our subject's now been interviewed, formally admitted his involvement in the offence and how he came to possession of the fake cards. As he had no previous convictions, he's been formally cautioned for the offence by the police, and that's an end of the criminal investigation.
But cases like this are putting the construction industry under greater scrutiny. It's fakery that could ultimately lead to a serious accident.
That's all from Fake Britain. Goodbye. Here at the Fake Britain House, we'll reveal the fakes that are flooding the market, conning people like you and me, and making money for the criminals. We'll investigate the fraudsters who are selling us something that isn't real and could be dangerous. And we'll help you avoid falling for a fake.
Today on Fake Britain, the fake clothing banks that are fleecing kind-hearted Brits.
A fake bank is one that is depriving the poor and the needy throughout the globe.
The fake identity cards that could lead to a construction site catastrophe.
Fake cards by changing hands for between £300 and £500.
And the fake fancy dress costumes, endangering lives and harming British business.
It's a very cheap synthetic. It probably burns like the clappers.
Giving away old clothes to charity can make a real difference. £100 million each year goes to worthy causes because the clothes we're happy to give away are valuable. But the fakers know that too, and they're desperate to get their hands on the stuff we want to go to a charity. So, do you know where your gift of clothes could end up?
We've all seen clothing banks like this. You'll find them on the high street or at an out-of-town shopping centre. In total, there are over 14,000 across the UK, and more than half of the estimated 540,000 tonnes of clothing we recycle annually are collected through these banks. The clothing is then sold overseas. Ghana and Pakistan are two of the most popular destinations, and the profits are used to fund charitable projects, both here and abroad. Ravi Zucchi works at Planet Aid UK, a large not-for-profit organisation which owns nearly 1,500 clothing banks across the UK.
The used textile business is massive. There are many, many thousands of tonnes of used clothes, used shoes collected every month from thousands of collection banks.
And it's surprising how valuable our unwanted clothing is.
We collect 120 tonnes of textiles each month, and the value of that is approximately £600 to £700 per tonne.
A large clothing bank on a busy site will typically be filled within a week, and the clothes donated in that time can be sold for £200. Over the course of a year, that's £10,000. Planet Aid manage the clothing bank sites for a number of local councils, including 7 locations here in Harlow, Essex. However, the property team at Harlow Council have received a report from a local shopkeeper about some mysterious clothing banks which have suddenly appeared overnight. Joe McGill from Harlow Council's property team believes these clothing banks are fake.
As you can see, this is one of the fake clothing banks that we've identified in Harlow. There are 6 in total at present, and we're looking to have them removed from the area.
Joe and his team have been unable to find a registered charity using this exact slogan and logo design.
Unlike other charities, where the council understands where all the clothing is going and the public know which charity they're contributing to, no one knows where this clothing will end up.
The fakers have used the Kids Go Green logo, not to be confused with any organisation using a similar name, on all 6 of the bins placed around Harlow. The council has taken action and issued notices, ordering the banks to be removed within 3 weeks under the threat of seizure. But Joe's had a report that his notice has been removed from at least one of the banks.
The bin's located behind the sidewall in an alleyway and just sat around the corner away from the CCTV camera.
Joe's suspicions have been confirmed. The fakers have swiped the notice.
There's another fake.
And his next stop brings him to a busy thoroughfare where the fake has been brazenly placed next to 2 genuine banks and is now causing a health hazard.
This one, as you can see, is uncontrolled. They don't clear it up, they don't keep it tidy. We do not have any idea who actually owns this particular bin either. And it's got the same logo as the one at Sherrod's Hatch and all the other ones that have been placed in Harlow.
As for the state of the site, Joe's going to have to get someone down here, creating further costs for a hard-pressed local council. Joe also picks up some useful information on when the banks are being emptied.
Have you seen anybody coming up to the banks or anything?
The vans turn up around 5:45, 10 to 6. When I'm out walking the dog in the morning, they'll come up, they'll empty the closed bank, fill the vans up and go.
But this problem stretches far beyond Harlow.
Unfortunately, it's not the first time that we've heard of fake clothing banks. We've had reports of fake clothing banks over the years in many, many locations, way up in Scotland and then down in Yorkshire. We've had many reports in Warwickshire and even in our hometown of Corby.
Back in Harlow, another fake